friends. Welcome to another episode of HPA Global Insights. Today, we're going to talk about the China market a little bit, and we're also going to talk about an expo coming up in June, which is, in my opinion, one of the best expos in China for health supplements. And here today to talk with me about all this is my good friend, Monika Xing. She is the director of the Health and Nutrition Department at the China Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Monika. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Hi, guys. How are you? Welcome. A very pleasure to meet you again some years later.
Thank you. So let's dive in and we'll keep the video kind of short and keep the information strong. So let's talk a little bit about the market first before we jump into the expo stuff. So here's I prepared a few questions here. In terms of import and export of one of the things that your overall China of Chamber does is it's involved in the import and export of medicines and health products. So I thought it was appropriate to kind of see any trends that are going on with ingredients that are being exported out of China or imported into China over the last year or so that have been maybe changed or is kind of trending. Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I would like to share some data with you. I will talk about the supplement side because I'm in charge of nutrition and health food. As I think ingredients is similar. So the trade of dairy supplements market of China in 2025 totaled 12.9 billion US dollar, and of this, the imports reached nearly 8.29 billion US dollar, and export reached 4.61 billion US dollar. The USA still ranked the first import countries among all import countries to China.
I know that's interesting because I know when I lived in China, America was always kind of number one in terms of exports to China because of direct sale companies, and there was a lot of early companies that moved to China. But then it kind of shifted over time, and then Australia became kind of number one, and then back to America. So is it still the case that like US and Australia are the top two kind of foreign brands that are in China?
Yeah, so talking about the import countries of health supplements to China, USA is always ranked the first, and since 2019, Germany ranked the second, replacing the Australia. But the top three are always the USA, Germany, Australia. Only in the year 2018, Australia surpassed the USA as the first import country to China. So I missed a question, just a issue from you. It's about the hot categories. For the cross-border e-commerce supplement market, there are 5 major categories products. They are cardiovascular health, oral beauty, basic nutrients, and bone and joint health, and gastrointestinal health. So these are very hot products in China.
That's always good to know. Talking about cross-border, it seems like when I lived in China, and for many years, while I was there, the Chinese brick and mortar or Chinese traditional retail stores like the pharmacies and all those things were always bigger in terms of volume and sales compared to like e-commerce. But over the years, e-commerce just keeps growing. Is it true now at this point that cross-border e-commerce is selling more volume than traditional retail, or is that not the case?
E-commerce is a main channel in China, and according to a data from research company in China, the total sales of dairy supplement in China's e-commerce market in the first half of 2025 reached 62.2 billion Chinese yuan, with a year-on-year growth of 11.5%. And among them, the cross-border e-commerce channels contributed 28.9 billion Chinese yuan, with a growth rate of 15.6%, and compared to the previous years. And domestic e-commerce channels contributed 33.3 billion Chinese yuan, a growth rate of 9%. So there is a conclusion that Cross-border e-commerce has strong growth, while the domestic e-commerce has maintained steady growth. And talking about also some figures I would like to give to you. So in the first half of 2025, the distribution of proportion of channels for nutrition and household in China, so e-commerce market share was around nearly 50%. And the pharmacy channel share was around 30%. And the direct sale market share was around 18%. So e-commerce really has become the core sales channel in China.
Wow, that's amazing, because it didn't take long. You know,
Yeah.
it was just a matter of maybe 10 years or something. That was pretty quick.
Less than 10 years, only since 2018, since the law, the regulation released since 2018, that really give a lot of advantages to the import supplements to China.
Okay, so for those people watching and listening to us here that may or may not know, China has a regulatory system for health food products. They need to be registered to be sold in the market if you want to sell like in pharmacies or sell on domestic e-commerce. So it's like the blue hat registration. And then there's the cross-border way, which you don't necessarily need the blue hat for that. But I understand that even cross-border is getting a little bit more difficult for companies to navigate.
With respect to the import of dairy supplements through the general trade, overseas manufacturers must be registered at GCC. The customer's order number 2080, on which it is based, will take effect on June the 1st this year. At present, there are no requirements for CBEC import health supplements about registration, but the supervision through the GCC and e-commerce platforms has become stricter. This has been reflected in regulatory system and ingredient aspect. The improvement of the regulatory system, that is, the GCC strengthens the risk prevention and control of cross-border e-commerce retails of imported food, and will further improve the regulatory system. And according to some business operators in China, the customers has strengthened supervision of some ingredients used in import dairy supplements through CBEC channels since the second half of last year. Customers or e-commerce in some regions require that if ingredients applied into dairy supplements such as NMN or ergothioneine, and the documents are necessary to prove that the use of these ingredients are legal and compliant in the original countries. And the tightening, but I have to make it clear, the tightening of the CBEC supervision of import dairy supplement is due to the harm caused by fake CBEC imports to Chinese consumers. The country needs to strictly control the safety of imported food. And since the regulation has tightened, fake and inferior products are being driven out of the market step by step, which is an advantage for a real overseas import brand. So currently, the requirements of a CBEC import is still different compared with the supervision of the general trade import, namely the blue hat system, registration system. The strength of future supervision will depend on the subsequent policies received from the government.
All right, so thank you for all that information. It was wonderful. And let's get on to talking a little bit about the expo that you guys have been doing for how long have you been doing this expo? It's been quite a while, many years now, the HNC.
Yeah, HNC Expo, thank you, Jeff, to give me this opportunity to share some message of our expo, because it is also not only an expo, it's a gateway to China. This year will be its 16th edition, and HNC has three top advantages. It has authority and resources. It has professional buyers and precise matchmaking, and also it's regarded as an industry trend and insight. So during the 16th edition, and there will the show will bring together all leading the global leading nutrition and health food brands and manufacturing enterprises of health and nutrition food, as well as the upstream suppliers of food ingredient and packaging in the same venue. So altogether, there will be 2,500 exhibitors sharing around 200,000 square meters, and it is expected to welcome more than 93,000 professional visitors. So that is a brief introduction of the coming expo. You are very welcome to come to China.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So that last time we talked, so the show has grown. So last time we talked, there was about 2,000 exhibitors and about 80,000 attendees. So now you've now ramped up to 2,500 exhibitors and over 90,000. So that's great that it's building back up. And to be clear, this show is, like you said, inside the greater, there's other expos all together doing ingredients and packaging, a lot of other things. But your expo individual, the HNC, is finished products. So these are like B2C consumer goods that are going directly to consumers. So that's the target of this expo.
Yeah, it's a brand manufacturer and OEM, ODM manufacturers from global area countries altogether.
Okay. And so what's the date on this one? Is going to be June, when is it?
15th to 17th, middle of June.
Okay.
We are
in Shanghai.
Yeah, in Shanghai, the biggest exhibition center, the HNC Exhibition Center. It is in Hongqiao.
Yeah, and that's the nice one where it's like connected to the subway, and you can get to the train station or the airport. You can get all over the place. It's very crowded, but it does have the subway, has taxis, has a bunch of ways to kind of get around. So that's kind of convenient. Earlier, before we started the recording, we were talking about HNC and some other stuff, and you mentioned you have another show as well that you've started that is in another city. Can you tell us just a little bit about that one too?
Yeah, after we based on the success of HNC Expo in Shanghai, we started another HNC Expo in Shenzhen starting from the 2023. So Shenzhen is quite different as Shanghai because Shanghai is like an industry show. The HNC is the is a finished product together with upstream suppliers. But in Shenzhen, agency is as a nutrition part. And together, there are other like the dining shows, like the hotel food shows altogether. So the Shenzhen show is going to targeting the buyers from the Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Macau Bay Area, Great Bay Area. And the show is also growing very fast. And every year, the visitors has been increased around more than 50%. So so that is also witness our decision is right because China market is so big. So only one show is not enough to satisfy all the industry players. That's why we make another one.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
It will be, this year will be in October from 13th to 15th in Shenzhen.
Oh, okay, so that's better weather too. I think it's not as hot. Shenzhen and Hong Kong area, it gets very hot in the summer and humid. So as for the HNC show, is what is the ratio approximately? I don't know if you know off the top of your head, like domestic companies and international companies, the mix.
In Shanghai, we have around 40% from overseas exhibitors, and the other 60% from the domestic exhibitors. So, but the overseas, like this year, we have the Australian Pavilion, we have the Italian pavilion. And before, we also have like other pavilion from Norway, from Canada, from um, uh, uh, New Zealand, and now we have there is a still new global player would like to come to China. And on top of the show, we also do some forums in China. And in the year 2024, we bring a delegation to visit the Europe. We have also have this kind of forum. We organize it in Milan, in Italy, and also we went to Kiel in Germany. So that means we also support the China manufacturer, China industry players who go abroad, and also support the overseas members to communicate with China buyers in the local countries. So now we do more. Because the health industry is still a growing industry. I mean, the consumer in China, they would like to more high quality supplements to maintain their body health. So the industry is still on growth. So that's why the players are much more than before. So the scale of the industry is always on growth.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's been many years in a row now that this industry has enjoyed a double-digit growth in China, whereas, you know, in America here, we're usually growing we're always growing, but it's more like 3 to 5%, you know, it's kind of very predictable, but China is still growing quite quickly.
In China, the e-commerce is growing faster, the fastest channels, and among e-commerce, the live streaming sales grow the fastest.
Yeah, live streaming, yes, yeah. Now you mentioned before about like kind of country pavilions. So I think people should consider that, because there's a couple ways to get to your show. So if you don't want to maybe spend as much money and your country does, like say Australia or something, has a pavilion, you could probably, you know, contact the organizer of that pavilion and get inside there. A little bit less expensive than having your own standalone booth. I think it's a nice way to kind of go to the show, have a presence inside of a pavilion, and then the next year come back and have your own space once you know, learn the show and what it's about, and how you could benefit from having your own booth. I always thought that was a nice way to do that.
Yeah, I think pavilion is not only related to the cost control, it is related to the location and exposure. Because if the company join in the pavilion, they can get best exposure. There will be more opportunity for them as an individual exhibitor. Because in individual exhibitors, you will be separated in different locations. But if you join the pavilion, they will be integrated promotion, something like that. So you will get more attention from all the visitors. So like a show, the exposure is very important. So how to make the visitor to find you in the fastest way, yeah, this is very important for an exhibitor.
And then right now your website, you know, because it's getting close, it's about a month away or so. So I'm sure do you already have a kind of an attendee list on your website already?
Yeah, we are updating it. We're updating it in our website and also updating through our WeChat mini program. And we have a WeChat mini program, so this will be easier for the visitor, for the exhibitor to get the most updated information. So everything now is very fast in China. So website is a little bit slow. So everything is we use the mini program.
Okay, so for people that don't have WeChat, I'll put the website at the end of the video, so you can go, you know, visit the website and see more about what's happening there, and maybe some of the people that are going. You can check that out.
Thank you.
Monika, before we go, is there anything else you wanted to discuss about the HNC?
No, there's I think it's I think we hope that we just want to welcome more uh, a global industry player to come to China, because now there is some changes in the CBEC channels, so we think it is really advantages, and some overseas industry players already see this opportunity. So I think it's also a good time for the maybe middle, small size company. They can also get their market in China.
Definitely. All right, Monika. Well, thank you so much for your time and all the insights and the kind of trends in the market. That was great. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that. So that's it. Thank you. It was nice to see you again.
Welcome. Me too. You're welcome. And we can always keep in touch. And if there's any news you want to know about China, you're welcome to contact me. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. If you have any questions about the expo, you can visit the website or you can send me a message. And if you have a question for Monika, it's probably just as easy to ask me because Monika and I are close and I can convey that over to Monika. But, reach out and let us know if you have any questions. That's it. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you again next time.